Today, we are diving headfirst into one of the biggest questions in all of philosophy, the quest for certainty. And we're going to do it by looking through the eyes of two absolute giants, Aristotle and René Descartes. But first, I want you to just stop for a second and really think about this. How do you know that the things you believe to be true are actually true? I mean, really, truly know it. It's a simple question that can honestly unravel everything you think you're sure about. And believe it or not, that's the exact same quest that our two main figures, Aristotle and Descartes, went on. Both of them were desperate to find some kind of unshakable foundation for knowledge, a starting point that was absolutely 100% certain. The funny thing is, they ended up going in completely opposite directions. So let's kick things off with Aristotle. For him, the answer wasn't some big secret hidden away in our heads. Nope. He believed that to find real certainty, you had to start by looking at the world right outside of you. He put his trust in reality itself to give us the foundation for what's true. And his entire way of thinking is built on this really elegant idea that our minds are basically made to understand the world, and the world itself is structured in a way our minds can totally grasp. There's this fundamental connection, a perfect alignment between what's out there and what's in here. Okay, so this right here, this is Aristotle's absolute, non-negotiable foundation, the principle of non-contradiction. For him, this wasn't just some clever rule for winning an argument. It was a fundamental law of reality itself. A thing can't be a circle and also not a circle at the same time and in the same way. This was it, his ultimate undeniable truth about how the universe actually works. All right, now let's fast forward a few centuries and completely flip the script. Enter René Descartes. He takes a radically different approach. He doesn't start with trust in the world. He starts with radical, systematic doubt. He decides he's going to throw out every single belief he has that could possibly be false. So where does he start tearing things down? With our senses. I mean, we've all been tricked, right? A straw in a glass of water looks bent. But Descartes pushes this to the extreme. What if our senses aren't just occasionally wrong? What if they're lying to us all the time, about everything? What if nothing you see, hear, or touch is real? Then he dials up the doubt another notch. Think about the most realistic dream you've ever had. While you were in it, you thought it was real, right? So how can you be 100% sure you're not in one of those dreams right now? There's no foolproof test. Our entire reality could just be a dream. And this is where it gets really wild. This is his final boss of doubt. He says, imagine there's an evil genius, a malicious demon who is all-powerful and whose only job is to deceive you about everything, even simple math, like 2 + 3 = 5. Is there anything left that you can hold on to? And the answer is yes, there is one thing, because even if this all-powerful demon is fooling him, he has to exist to be fooled. The very act of thinking, of doubting, proves his own existence. He can be certain that he is a thinking thing. I think, therefore I am. This was it, the one single, indestructible point of certainty he was looking for. So from this one tiny, rock-solid point, Descartes starts to rebuild everything. He asks himself, why am I so sure about that one thing? And the answer is because he perceives it with total clarity and distinctness. So he figures, hey, maybe that's the rule. Any idea that I can perceive that clearly and that distinctly has to be true. And this is a really big deal. You can't overstate how much this one move by Descartes completely changed the game for Western philosophy. It's what's known as the Great Inward Turn, a seismic shift from looking out at the world for truth to looking inside our own minds. And this chart just lays it out perfectly, right? You see the fundamental conflict. Aristotle starts with being, with the world out there, and works his way in. Descartes does the exact opposite. He starts with his own thought, his own mind, and now he has this huge problem of trying to prove the outside world even exists at all. After Descartes, the mind itself becomes the center of the universe, philosophically speaking. The big question isn't just what's out there anymore. Now it's, how can I, from inside my own head, ever be sure about what's out there? This turn to the subject basically defines modern philosophy and creates a whole host of new problems to solve. So we've got two major roads, right? Aristotle's, which trusts the world, and Descartes', which trusts the mind. But there's a third path. What happens if you take Aristotle's ideas and push them as far as they can go, to their ultimate theological conclusion? Well, that leads us to another titan of thought, Thomas Aquinas. Now, to really get Aquinas, you first have to appreciate his method. It's just brilliant. He doesn't just tell you he's right, he builds this ironclad case. First, he lays out all the strongest arguments against his own position. Then, he states his view, defends it with incredible detail, and then get this, he goes back and refutes every single one of those initial objections, one by one. It's a total power move in logical debate. So let's see how this works in practice. When he asks the question, is God a physical body, he doesn't just ignore the parts of the Bible that might suggest it. Nope. He lays them all out, all the mentions of God's arm or eyes, or God sitting on a throne. He faces the counter-arguments head-on, right from the start. And then, after listing all that evidence for the other side, he pivots. He brings in one single, powerful, authoritative line that cuts through all of it. God is a spirit. It's like he's saying, I see all your points, but here's the ultimate authority on the matter. So, what's his big argument? It comes down to this Latin phrase, ipsum est subsistens. Here's a way to think about it. You and I, and everything else in the universe, we have being. A tree has being. A star has being. But for Aquinas, God doesn't just have being. God is being. Pure, simple, unlimited existence itself. And this idea about being flows right into his idea about truth. He's totally with Aristotle on this one. Truth for him is when what's in your head correctly matches what's out there in reality. A perfect correspondence. The fancy Latin for it is adequatio intellectus et re, a fitting of the mind to the thing. But then Aquinas adds this incredible theological layer. He argues that the world we live in is true because it conforms to the idea that was in God's mind when he created it. Then our minds become true when they conform to the world. So that means the entire system of truth is grounded in the divine mind. God isn't just telling a truth, God is truth itself. And that throws the ball right back in our court, doesn't it? It all comes back to this fundamental choice. Do you side with Aristotle and Aquinas and trust that reality itself is the bedrock of what you know? Or do you go with Descartes and start with the one thing you can't possibly doubt, your own thinking mind? This isn't just some dusty old debate. It's a living question about where you, right now, find your certainty. Where do you plant your flag?